Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped. Something.
I wasn't expecting that
either. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny. I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things. Of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
I am much better at handling the external world and people who don't know me than I am at handling my own internal world and people who either really know me or think they know me.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, so it's kind of a big contrast there in my life that I did this, right? I did this, I jumped off, all the benefits and the whole spiel.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of followed my heart, but that was kind of, I followed that. It came from inside. But It was doing something externally.
Right.
So it's a different quote ball game than dealing with things that are
inside and those intimate relationships.
Yeah, and also that. It's not only intimate relationships, it's also that the feeling of being judged. If people know me, the button goes off, they judge me.
Right.
But so, I can feel totally free sitting on a plane. I don't know anybody in the world.
Right.
Packed as a sardine in economy class for 15 hours,
Yeah. There's definitely some freedom there in talking with total strangers.
Yeah, and that is easier for me than it's because I am. I still. I had much less, but I still don't have that much ground under my feet that's, and it's that judgment thing that judge me. What did I think about me? It's all coming from childhood. That was one of my mother's refrains was that, what will the neighbors think? You're the worst. Yeah, it was kind of, it was always like that. But back to what we were working on, and we have been working on.
Yeah.
These last few weeks have been kind of tough.
Okay.
And they have been tough because, so, I mean, what we were working on was pretty deep, and it wasn't a happy story.
Right.
So I was muddled in that for a while after last time I saw you. And then I started to see, of course, how that experience, which I can't prove because,
right.
but it feels true.
Mm-hmm.
And I have some indirect proof I could put on the table, but I don't have to do that now. But it's about my mother has said things over the years where she has accused somebody else of doing that to me.
Yeah.
And she has told me graphic things. I don't want to go into it, but basically the way she has put it kind of, when I think at it, lines up. But anyway, so let's drop that. I don't have proof, but it feels true. And so I started getting insight into, and I knew this, but it's a different way of seeing it. The more you know, the different way you see your life. How that what I did before I could talk, before I had very much, was that I rejected my mother because she wasn't safe.
Right.
And I started seeing how that had made my childhood completely chaotic, and I could see the cycle I'd gotten into. We can talk more about that.
Right.
And I also saw how that had impacted me as a mother when I had a child. And those two insights were really, really heavy. And then some shit happened in the outer world that I also had to take care of. And one of them would have made anybody anxious, I think. At least one of them. So I have been in, if I was going to put one word on it, I've been in a pretty overwhelmed place where I felt kind of got, that people have gotten onslaught of stuff. And I think I have touched. I have history of depression, so I have had depressive episodes since I was a preschooler, I think. But anyways, I think I started touching on that I can be kind of became slower. It was kind of, I'm overwhelmed. This is too much. I need to shut down and protect myself.
Right. Yeah. And what's the shutdown and protect look like?
It looks like that. Okay, what it looks like in practice, or what it looks like inside me. In practice, it looks like I don't get up really early. I don't really want to get up, so I kind of lay in bed and then with my mind kind of spinning for a long time, and then I say, okay, I should get up now, right? And then things take longer. I'm not kind of as productive as I would have been. Things are slower, and I moved to a new apartment in mid-December, and I haven't made it home yet. And I've been it's like, I remember when I moved to my last apartment, I had this drive to make it homey. So we painted yellow here and blue there and teal hair and God knows what we did, right? I was looking at it and saying, yeah, I have to do something. I'm not ready yet. I don't feel inspired, and so to produce it, so I have had less of a drive. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
But I have also, so that has kind of been, but I have also, especially the last week, I got out of touch with this little baby. And a lot of things happened. I had COVID. Right after I finished COVID, my daughter came home for 2 weeks. And she was dealing with some pretty big issues, which had nothing to do with me. Bless her. But it was super tense. She was super anxious. And when she's anxious, it's almost like I'm anxious when we are in the same space. So, I got all away from myself there. So I got away from that little one. But the last week, I've kind of tried to reestablish contact with her. And when I have, that makes me feel better.
Oh, good.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes. I feel kind of it when I can just let everything go. I mean, by kind of being in kind of a space where I just feel compassion and there are no rules. There's no, nothing, nothing matters. Then I can feel some bliss in a way. You know what I mean? It's like,
I do.
Yeah. So,
great.
Yeah. So now you got, you got the long story.
No, that's great. So, okay. So there was a few weeks, they're feeling muddled. And then just in the past week, that started to turn around as you've connected more with the little one. Okay.
Yeah. So I feel that I should work on something around her.
Yeah. And if my memory's serving me correctly here, we didn't, there were a couple of things or a couple steps that I usually suggest that we didn't go through with her last time we talked.
Yeah. But I'm drawn to that. And how to put it? Okay. So I don't know if you got what I said, but what I said very quickly that by rejecting my mother, that I could see how that had thrown my whole childhood into chaos.
Yes.
And how I had replicated, in a way, a cycle later on in my life than I had a child myself.
Right.
And I'm wondering how I can okay, and both those cycles are guilt cycles. Okay, well, let me describe them, and then we can, because it's a whole picture.
Okay.
And so by rejecting her, what happened later on, especially after she had abducted me and my sister when I was 6. and brought us back to her parents. I think I rejected her once more then, but especially after that, the cycle of my childhood was, oh, I'm such a horrible person. I rejected my mother. People don't do that. I didn't think it this way. Okay, this is me thinking now. But this was, that was, I think this feels like these were the feelings. I was a horrible person because I had rejected my mother. Of course, I didn't know why I had rejected her. Because she wasn't safe, because you're supposed to love your mother. So I went through cycles of tell all, just telling her everything and kind of being very confessional and making her 10 Christmas presents and, and then I withdrew in horror. And then I went back again, and then I withdrew in horror, went back. So that was the whole kind of hurricane waves of my childhood. And then when I had a daughter myself, it was different. But I was terrified because there were no role models and no help. My husband was not evil, but he was passive. And I believe it feels to me now that I was terrified that she would reject me. Because if she rejected me, I would become my mother.
Yeah.
So what I did, since the only clear thought, only clear kind of guidance I had when I had a daughter was, I'm not going to do like my mom did.
Right.
So my kind of, the should on me was, I always have to just be there for her 110% and always love her conditionally, always be there, do everything she feels and wants to. And then I can, and then, like, and then, oh no, so then I got into that. And then something in me said, oh, I need to space for myself. I can't do this. And then maybe I went out for a run, or I did something, nothing big, nothing putting her out on the street or anything like that. Right. But, I did something little for me. Right. And then I felt super guilty.
Yeah.
And then I went back, and then I had to compensate, and I did it again, and I got overcompensate. So it was kind of a similar cycle.
Right.
And I have to admit it. She had a father too, but this created, insecure ambivalence or whatever you call that, in that little one. And that's probably some of what that wasn't what she, that's what underlay probably some of the things that she's dealing with now.
You're referring to the little one being in you, or are you talking about your daughter?
I'm talking about my daughter right now. So basically I can stop now, but so there is so much guilt in me.
Yeah.
And all that guilt, the origin of all that guilt is I rejected my mother before I even could say a word.
Right. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So, okay, so let's go to that. So I would love to take your guidance on how to.
Yeah.
How
to unburden that.
How to unburden that little one, and also, lessen all those guilt storms. That still kind of reverberate over this. That's a word inside myself. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So there's the little one that we've talked about who has that feeling. There are also other parts that we've talked about that have that feeling, like a 5-year-old that screamed at your father, I believe.
I screamed, I want to stay with daddy. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So if that's the feeling that you're wanting to focus on, is that message of, the guilt because I rejected my mother, you could maybe look for which part feels like it's carrying that the most. And if it is that youngest one, we could target that. But if there's other parts that are up around that, or maybe have protective energy around that, see if you can listen out for those and see which of these parts needs your attention the most.
Well, that little one, she didn't really have any guilt because she just was terrified, right? And she rejected. I mean, she rejected. She rejected her caregiver, my mother, because it wasn't safe. It was like a burglar coming in or a rapist coming in, whoever.
Right.
Right, and there was no guilt there. Guilt came. I'm trying to feel into at what age the feeling of guilt was stronger. Because it feels like guilt came so early. It came soon as I became self-conscious. I think guilt came, but it could have been guilt for something else. But it was.
Is it with that 5-year-old that said wanted
that 5-year-old? When she screamed, she didn't feel guilty in that moment either. At that moment, she was scared, but she knew what she wanted.
Yeah.
And she was really... At that moment, she didn't feel guilt.
I'm wondering if the guilt maybe comes after that and is more of a protector role.
Yeah, because, like I said, when I look back at my I don't remember very much. A lot of holes in my memory. But most of my memories from when I was little have guilt or shame in them. But that's a different kind of... For example, I think... I don't remember how old I was, but I think I hit another little child in the sandbox with a plastic spade. And the person who took care of us during the day locked me up in the bathroom. And she said, I'm going to tell your dad when he gets home. And I felt so good. So my mom can't have been home by then. And then I had a memory from I was really little and I had to pee. And I peed on our living room carpet. And it's guilty there. So, and then, so I have all these kind of episodes. Most of them are filled with guilt.
Yeah.
But this this guilt that I think before, okay, it feels like before my mom, before she abducted us, I cannot. Well, I have maybe one or two.
You know,
yeah.
we don't need to approach it this way, where you're trying to find, you know, the date in history and try to find the emotion that way. It's usually not how, you know, I'm detecting parts.
Okay.
So we can try another approach.
Let's scrap it. Let's try another approach.
Yeah. So you could start with just feeling into that guilt and seeing more about where in your body it shows up and how it shows up.
It feels like it sits right below my navel. And it makes me feel should I put the word nauseous? At least that makes me feel it's a honestly right at my navel. And that's not belly button. It's really heavy and it's uncomfortable. And it is dark. And it is kind of nauseating, and it makes it's a feeling that I just want to run away from.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Which makes sense because it sounds pretty uncomfortable, huh?
Yeah. And it also makes me feel heavy and kind of lifeless. There's no spark. Everything is a chore or drudgery.
Yeah.
And it feels like I'm all alone and I just have to pull myself up. And if I don't just pull myself up, if I don't make the effort, it's an effort. If I don't make an effort to pull myself up, I will kind of just fall over.
Yeah. Okay. And you had said that you also have this feeling of like wanting to run away from that feeling, that guilt feeling.
Yeah. I just want to, I want to run away from it.
Okay.
Close the door and just run away.
Yes. Okay. See if you can turn your attention to that part that wants to run away from it. And just ask it for space. See if it will give you space to get to know this guilt feeling.
Because it's feeling is saying, I'm bad, I'm bad, I'm bad. And then running away means to feel bad.
Of course.
So uncomfortable.
Of course. And so you can thank that running away part for wanting to protect you from that.
Yeah.
Just let it know that you see how hard it's worked. Just ask it if it would be okay with you trying something else. Going to that feeling yourself.
I just either lost the track or something else came up. Maybe it was both.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because, or maybe, I wonder if they are connected. Because running away, okay. So I'm running away from the guilt. But there is, I can also, if I close my eyes, see myself as running away. I can see my little when I was 6 years old, when right after the abduction, just running out of the house, running out of the house. And that wasn't because of guilt. That was because I wanted to run to somebody. I wanted to run back to my daddy.
Yeah. And does that feel like it's at all connected to this guilt?
It does. And okay. So it surprises me a little. But okay, so I think I've said this in therapy, in therapy. I know I'm not in therapy now, but I've said it in therapy many times with every new therapist I've had. At some point, I've said that my mother didn't allow me to love both. I had to choose.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had to love her, but if I loved my father, then there was no love. Then she would take all her love away. It was like I had to choose. So it could be, and I never, when I was little, when I was 6, 7, 8, 9, I always dreamt of. First, I dreamt of having my dad back. Mm-hmm. Then, when we saw him during the summers, he had changed so much. He had kind of any warmth that he had locked into an icebox. Mm-hmm. So it was not very fun to be with him either. And he just showed, what he showed us was something devoid of feelings. He wasn't bad, but devoid of feelings. Very obsessive, compulsive. Wanting us it was like we had to take the first step, right? And since we didn't take the first step, he felt wounded. So
right.
So that was kind of a mess too. But even after I kind of stopped dreaming of having him back, I dreamt of having a dad that was just mine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it could very well be that having those illicit feelings, either of my dad or a dad, was another betrayal of my mother.
Right. Right. So running, I think I get it now. So how the running to him is also part of this guilt. So there's the running away. There's running away from guilt, and there's also running to him or running to some other father is also associated with the guilt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the same with that part. You can just let it know that you see it, that you get it.
Yeah.
That it makes sense to you.
Yeah, it does make sense to me. But at the bottom of it, maybe not at the bottom, but okay, so I had this intense guilt because I had rejected my mother.
Mm-hmm. And
I longed for a father, which was it was.
Yeah.
But there was no way I could get out of it because there was something fundamental there. I knew I had rejected her, but I couldn't. I think it was that. Okay, so let's say it was total different world, and I could have said to somebody if I could have said to a loving person, right, a person who cared about me, whoever that was, could have been Santa Claus, I don't know, but if I could have said to that person, my mother isn't safe,
right,
I rejected her,
right,
and that person would say to me, or I don't know what he would say, but he would say something that was confirming to me that I wasn't a bad person, right? He would say,
right.
You know, he or she would hug me and say, oh, I feel for you. And whatever they would say something confirming, right? So it made me feel like, yes, it didn't make me a bad person.
Right.
But there was no such person around, right?
Got it. Yes. Right.
So
it makes total sense that this part would internalize that.
So this just festered.
Right. And internalize that message of being bad.
Because you're supposed to love your mother.
Yeah. So again, when you notice that feeling and you notice that message and that part, how are you feeling towards it now?
I wish I could be that Santa Claus, you know?
Okay, yeah. Yeah. I think you can. I think you are. You're the one you've been waiting for.
Yeah, because I will say, that's okay. You don't have to love her.
Okay. And so those parts that are doing the running, are they okay with giving you space to go meet that part?
Are they?
Yeah.
They're kind of stopping in their track. They're looking, what? What happened?
Yeah, different approach, huh?
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're saying, okay, I'll stay here and see how this works out.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I think that's what they're saying. Let's see how this works out.
Yeah. And so are you feeling curious now to learn more about that part that says I'm bad?
Yeah.
Okay. Let it know that.
Yeah.
Refocus on that feeling. And let it know you're curious about it.
Mm-hmm. I am curious about it.
Let it know you've got those other parts to step back.
Yeah.
And that it can talk to you however it wants to talk to you now.
The first is just repeating. It's saying, I'm bad, I'm bad, I'm bad because I rejected my mother. I don't love her. She's not safe.
Yeah. And what else are you noticing about that part?
That part is also saying, maybe that's a different part, but it is something that's saying, I wish she was safe. You know?
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm really longing for that mother. And it's so sad. It's so sad. I could cry for 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
That I didn't have that mother.
Yeah. Just let the part know that you see that.
Yeah.
You see that sadness.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
Sad.
And you're okay with it sharing that with you now?
And it is sad. And so what I want to say to her is that it's sad for you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sad for you to have been so alone and not having had that.
Yeah, you can say that to her. Just let her know it's okay to be that sad with you. And just show you that.
She's also saying she's angry. She's so angry. Because she never got what she wanted. And that increases the guilt.
Yeah. Are you noticing more about this part now? Can you see it? Are you feeling close to it?
I cannot see. I mean, she doesn't have a human form to that way.
Okay.
It's she's kind of some gray, brown, woolly mass.
Yeah.
Oh, but I can see a little person inside that woolly mass that's so scared.
Okay.
I just saw some skin. Or something that looked like, my color skin.
Yeah. Just ask her to tell you more about how it's been hard for her, what it's been like for her. Let her know you really want to understand.
Saying I've always felt so guilty that I was so bad. And then I've been waiting for people to judge me.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of expect, no, she's talking. She expects people to judge her.
Right.
And people to kind of reinforce that you are bad.
Yeah. And I imagine some of that comes from other parts in you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just let her know that you've seen that. And how does she feel? How does she trust you about judging her?
I don't think she thinks I'm judging her.
Great.
But she still feels like she has to keep herself hidden under that gray, woolly mess, whatever it is.
Yeah. And we're not telling her she has to change.
Mm. Because it's easier to talk to me when I can't see her properly.
Okay.
Oh, she is afraid that if I really saw her, I may judge her.
Okay. Yeah. And you might want to look out, maybe kind of look behind you. Are those judgment parts lurking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see them. Yeah. They're they're in the air, like clouds behind me, kind of sitting there watching with one eye.
Yeah. Yeah, so you may want to address them and just negotiate with them, see what they'll allow in terms of space, see if they have any concerns.
They do judge her.
Mm-hmm. And they have had their reasons to do that, right? They've performed in a protective way.
Yeah, they've kept her down.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They've kept her inside that whatever she's inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've kept her from overwhelming you, or those feelings from becoming overwhelming.
Have they done? They have. Oh gosh. Almost like I can feel, almost like my mind turns, it's turning into mush.
Okay.
They have, I think what they have done is.
It's just you. Go ahead.
Well, okay. So what they have done, they have kept me, and so sitting here right now, they kept me from really looking at her or wanting to get to know her.
Right. Right. They've
Because
exiled her.
because the red button has gone on and I have felt guilty.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have been stewing in that guilt, but then, try to push it away, but I haven't gone inside the stew.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because, yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense to me.
Yeah. So they have kept me from looking at they kept me from questioning the guilt.
Mm-hmm.
From looking at it with curiosity and non-judgment.
Yeah. Yeah. And how have they liked their job? How do they feel about that role?
How do I feel about that role? It's like being a bureaucrat in North Korea.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
It's
You could try asking the judgment parts how old they think you are.
I think I'm big.
Right. Yeah.
I think I am 6, 7, 8.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you're 6, 7, 8, you probably wouldn't be able to handle all this and wouldn't be able to help these parts out in the way that you can.
But when I was 6, 7, 8, I had a lot of anger stored in there.
Mm-hmm.
And the guilt put a lid on that anger.
Okay.
So if I hadn't been so ridden with guilt, I could have been an explosive child. Wow.
Yes.
I could have been destructive.
Yeah. Yeah. And had you been destructive,
I don't know what would have happened then.
that would not have been good, huh?
That would not have been good.
Yeah. So they had a very important job, very important role when you were that age.
Mm-hmm.
To hold down the anger.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can just show them your real age. Let them know that they won't have to work as hard.
Yeah.
If they'll just let you go to these vulnerable parts, the parts that carry all that guilt.
I really want to learn to know this part.
Mm-hmm.
Because part of the guilt is also that she thinks it's her fault, right?
Right.
So it must be something is wrong with her.
Right.
And if this was any other child, well, if she was that young, I probably couldn't say this to her, but
if it was any other child, you'd have no problem
I'd have no problem
waving that off. Right.
No problem. At least trying to say, wanting to communicate that it's not your fault.
Right.
You were little. Your caretakers didn't show up. It was their duty and responsibility to show up, and they didn't. And it had nothing to do with you.
Right. Right. But you have these judgment protectors that, and the running away protectors, and probably 10 other protectors, could be, that are orbiting these vulnerable parts.
And I do that even today. Or at least up till very recently. If instead of trying to, if somebody makes me feel uncomfortable, instead of trying to communicate or trying to see if they have another side, maybe they do have maybe they're coming from a good place or whatever. I can do all this intellectually, but instead of doing that, I close the door.
Yeah.
I run away from them.
Yeah.
I run away from so many people in my life. I think now I'm a pretty good friend, but I used to be a horrible friend that way. Because I didn't, when I was young, I hadn't experienced the value of connection because there was no connection to value.
Right.
Isn't that horrible? There's lots of things that are horrible, but.
Yeah. So with these protectors, the running away protectors, the judgment protectors, well, can you show them appreciation for their intention and the job that they've done when it was valuable?
At least part of me can.
Okay.
So part of me is saying, you made me feel so bad about myself. That's part of me saying that.
Right.
But I see that if all that rage had come out, I'd been insane.
Yeah,
there was so much rage there. There was so much rage there. And of course.
Yeah, wasn't an option. It wasn't a safe option.
It wasn't a safe option.
Yeah. These protectors may have kept you alive.
They kept me alive.
You could ask them what they need from you going forward, especially in this way. What do these protective parts need from you to trust you to get a better look at this exile?
What I heard was not to let her get out of control.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that means.
Mm-hmm.
If I can keep her from, I think they're actually more, oh, wow. I think they're actually more afraid that she will hurt herself than she would hurt others.
Okay.
So if I can keep her from so basically what I have, make her not go into, not explode or do something. I don't, there is no, make her not erupt like a volcano or, be destructive like a twister or whatever it is, make her.
Okay. Well, you can let them know that we can do that you can negotiate with this young part, that you can negotiate with her to not overwhelm you, to only share with you, at the right pace and the right intensity. And you can also let them know again, with your real age, just what you can handle now when it comes to working with parts.
I can handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do they respond to that?
Not in nodding. They tend to retire to somewhere. Not too far away, but at least,
Okay. Well, yeah, you can just thank them. You could thank the young part for being so patient and observant. I mean, she showed you. And all of these parts are showing you, here's how you can do the work that works for us. And just in the interest of time, is there a way that you can get back to this young one and bookmark, make an agreement, or ask her how you can get back to this place with her?
Oh, just that, she feels that it almost feels like she has a lot to tell me, that she wants to tell me, she just dares. Right. So I can feel her quite intensely right now, and feels like she's asking me if I can protect her.
Mm-hmm.
And that must be a good, I don't even know what time it is. It probably is time. Let's see, what time is it? It is
7:40, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think just it's a good place to end that. I'll promise I'll protect her and I'll hold the space for her.
Yeah. And you've seen now the different parts that, maybe you're protecting her from, or that have.
Yeah. I'm more you're protecting her so she can get some peace.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without having to do anything right now. Just.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you are ready to work with her more, you can keep these other parts in mind, and you can also just establish with her kind of where that space is, how to get back here.
Yeah.
Does she have any other requests or anything before we end the conversation, or at least my involvement in it?
You're involved in the conversation. It's almost like she's asking for permission, she's asking if it's okay that she doesn't. This sounds weird. Well, it seems like she's asking if it's okay that she drops for now the duty to protect anybody else.
Mm.
And I know this, I could continue because and I knew this before too, but I didn't know it in this way, that, part of her guilt is that she was the protector of the mother she rejected. And and by rejecting her, she didn't, it's complicated,
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah,
anyway.
But it makes sense to you, what she's saying.
Yeah, it does make sense to me.
Yeah, so you can respond in whatever way feels right for you.
Yeah. Okay, then does it? It's fine. She know. Okay, so basically, I think she knows I'm there.
Yeah,
it's kind of
great.
It's a bond, and I can.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I can. So yeah, she feels sort of at peace.
Yeah,
and I feel that.
And there's a lot more she wants to tell you.
Oh yeah,
and there's you'll be able to get back here and do that with her.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Good work.
Thank you, James.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. I have an appointment in early April. I realized I didn't know that, but I do.
Oh, good. Looking forward to it.
Okay.
Okay.
See you then. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. to every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows? That might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube. And they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.